If you're a theatre kid trying to get into this industry, you are going to want to watch this video. Hi guys, my name's Jess. I'm currently starring in Burlesque The Musical and I'm also a composer on the show. It also happens to be my first ever job in the industry and I didn't go to drama school. So I thought I'd share some things that I've learned. First of all, I've got to say this. We can see the audience. Not only can we see you, we will talk about you. Respectfully. For example, if there's a particularly good-looking person in the front row, then that may or may not be a discussion that happens mid-scene at the back of the stage when we're, talking amongst ourselves. Staying on the topic of silly shit we do on stage, during the show, performers are more than likely having their own fun. Now listen, there's obviously some parts of the show that we can't do this in, and it really does depend on the style and the tone of the show that you're doing. I'd imagine if you're doing an intense Shakespeare drama piece, you might not do as much of this. But I'm talking about most musical theatre shows. So one thing I used to do is race a certain quick change with my friend in the cast at the same point every night in the show. Honestly, I never won, which I'm still kind of mad about. That's a lie, actually. I did win. I won the final closing night performance. I cannot tell you I've never gotten changed so quickly in my entire friggin' life. So I did win that one time. There's also a moment in the show where we do an interpretive dance side stage with a phone. I can't really explain it, but I'll insert a video. Basically, when we first started doing the show, I couldn't do my quick change quick enough to get the prop phone that I needed for the next scene in time. So my friend would hand me the phone when we first started doing the show. He'd make sure he had it so that I didn't have to worry about getting it. As I got quicker, the more we did the show and I got quicker with the change, he started doing an interpretive dance to give me the phone. And then in the final night, I did it. That sort of silly shit that you do on stage that the audience would never know, but it's always sort of going on. You also just might give like a little smile or a face if your back's to the audience and you pull a face at your friend, it's one of my favorite things about doing theatre. Another thing I learned about is your pre-show calls. So before every show, you get a half-hour call, a quarter-hour call, which is basically a 15-minute call, a 5-minute call, and a beginner's call. And if I'm being totally honest with myself, I never once put on my costume before that 5-minute call. But luckily, I'm also not on until after the first number. Then you get another 5-minute and another beginner's call in the interval for Act 2. Next, I'd never heard of a show stop. This is basically when the show has to stop in the middle of a performance because of a technical malfunction or a safety issue, and it's no longer okay for the performers to be on stage. I could guess that this happens. When you're dealing with live theatre, you're dealing with real humans and loads of variables every night after night. However, I did not know how this happens. So if something goes wrong mid-show and you have to stop, the stage manager will walk on stage mid-scene, mid-song, whatever you're doing, and tell the actors to leave immediately. There's just something hilarious to me about the thought of being completely immersed in a character on stage, and then all of a sudden you see Peter from stage management walk on with his headset and be like, you gotta go. Anyway, the next thing is your sleep and food schedule. Now, I've got mad respect for anyone that can maintain a structure whilst being in a show, because that shit is wild. On a one show day, I would wake up between 11 and 12 because I'd be trying to get as much sleep as humanly possible. I'd have breakfast around lunchtime. Maybe go to the gym, maybe not. I'd say I averaged around 2 or 3 times a week during the last run we did. Really just to keep my brain in check. Arrive at the theatre around 4:30, maybe do some work or see some friends. Then I'd eat a big meal around 5:30. And then we technically start our work day at 6 p.m. So at 6, we'd have warm up and then parish notes, which is when our dance captain and our resident director would give us notes and clean. We'd get told if there are any swings or covers on, and the stage manager and the company manager would give any notices they need to. Then I'd do the show, finish around 10:30, shower at the theatre, get home about 11, eat some more food, start winding down, go to bed realistically at 1 or 2 in the morning, and then get up and do it all again. And let me remind you, this is on a one show day. There are still 2 days of the week we get to the theatre earlier to do 2 performances. My point is, your entire day is pushed back by about 4 hours. So you end up eating meals and sleeping at completely different times than you might be used to. It's all manageable. It's just something that I really didn't fully understand until I was in it. This next one isn't the case for all shows, but we actually had our mic packs in our wigs. Well, one of them. If you're a principal role, you'll often have 2 mics. So if one of them malfunctions mid-show, the sound team can just switch over and the audience never notices a thing. So in Burlesque, after some experimenting with the wig department, we decided that I would have my natural hair in Act 1, and then I have multiple wigs in Act 2. So during the first act, I had both mic packs in my bra. Then in the interval, one would be taken out and put underneath my wig, and the other would be switched over to my Act 2 beginner's costume. The other thing that you have on you that I didn't know about is a tracker. It might be in your wig, it might be on your body somewhere. I think mostly people had them in wigs on our show. This is so the lighting and sound and all-round tech teams can know where you are on stage. Finally, the last thing I think is a bit more specific to the role I was playing, but you're definitely going to want a vocal care bag in your dressing room on hand if you're doing a vocally challenging track. Let me know if you want me to talk about what exactly I have in mind in another video, but let me tell you, you learn real quick how careful you need to be when you're doing 8 shows a week. And I think that's it. There are definitely more things that I learned that aren't in my brain right now and I will think of. They were the main ones that popped into my head. I learned a lot. I think especially as someone who didn't go to drama school and didn't really have any prior knowledge of how that specific industry worked. I'm from music, so I kind of came in as a writer. It was really helpful having people around me who would let me know what that word meant, or let me know what usually happens during the process of rehearsing for a show or teching a show or being in a show. There were so many things that I just didn't know. But I was a massive theatre kid and it was an absolute dream come true. And if this video gives you a little insight, then give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Woo!